Hello, and welcome to the Riffe Gallery. I'm Susan Gottlieb, and I have both the privilege and the pleasure of being the curator of the exhibition you see around you, Artists of the Winding Road, A to Z. This exhibition offers a very important opportunity to showcase the work of 7 exceptionally talented artists living and working in the southeastern region of Ohio. As you may have guessed, A to Z refers to Athens to Zanesville, and all of the artists in the exhibition reside in either one or the other of those towns. Let me introduce you to them. Yan Sun, painter. Chinese by birth, but a Zanesvillian by choice, Yan Sun is a painter of international stature.
I'm lucky as an artist and art professor. Usually I just think about my eyes is very, very lucky. I can see the very beautiful world. I can see the beautiful people. What is beauty? What is the function of art? This is a very good question, and I just explain that, share my experience to my students, to my friends. I think the beauty is everywhere. And every day I got the inspiration from this community. And I love this community. Sometimes I just review my work. I find my work is so abstract. And I use the black. That black in the background, not just for the real color. It's an abstract color, and just unknowing. When I have an idea, that idea is so abstract. And I just design. I use small canvas and make the drawings or paintings. I just cut and then rearrange the pose or just for the composition belongs to myself. From Chinese ancient philosophy, just the universe. And one universe can divide into 2 parts. And one part is the yin and one is the yang. Yin and yang just the opposite concept. This side is black and white, and everything just the opposite. And you have to keep the balance. In China, it's a harmony. You need to keep the balance.
Kelsey Duncan, ceramist. Kelsey Duncan's work in ceramics communicates the ineffable aspects of humanity and human relationships.
I've been making art my entire life. Ever since ever since I was big enough to kind of make things, I just constantly was curious about different materials, different ways of making. I started out as a painter. I went into undergrad as a painter, and then switched to ceramics about 12 years ago. So I'm 30 now. I've been doing it since I was about 18. I think kind of broadly, it's figurative ceramics. That would be how it kind of fits into a genre within ceramics. But I think beyond that, always trying to make kind of contemporary figurative sculpture, kind of thinking about the figure as the human object instead of kind of the more classical, traditional, modernist definitions of like figuration within clay. Well, really, I kind of just need to make. At like a basic level, I just have to be making something every day. And when I wasn't able to do this full time, I was building houses during the day and then going home to my studio to be able to make work. And this particular work, well, recently I've been talking about kind of like destructive tropes, so stereotypes that are kind of set on people, and how that's limiting to a certain demographic, and how it's kind of limiting to have in terms of having like a better global scope of culture and whatnot.
Paul Emery, painter. Paul Emery paints places where he has never been and people he has never met. He paints not what exists, but what could be, amending perspective, pulling elements close to the surface of the painting, and telling stories in the process, all the while calling the viewer's attention to what is happening.
Well, I think the theme, the A to Z road, the winding road from Athens to Zanesville, focuses mostly on the Appalachian region. At least for me it does, growing up here. So this painting of the bottle yard is really grounded in this area. I mean, when I think of the Appalachian region, I think of small dilapidated houses like this one. I remember as a kid on a bicycle seeing his backyard and thinking to myself, 40 years later, that memory, thinking how I could paint this thing, how I could make a composition and make it beautiful but yet intriguing at the same time. You know, on some of my other pieces that are found object pieces or construction pieces, one thing I like about those, I'm surprising not just myself but the audience in some of the materials I'm using. Like the demolition piece, Downtown Demo, you know, that's foam and wood, so there's copper tubing in it, some found objects and junk. And my trash piece is the same way, my little dump painting with the bird on top. And it's fun because people enjoy looking through the trash that's on the piece. Even the kids, I find them trying to pull stuff off of it even. So I know it's very rewarding for people to look through it. And then at the same time, it has a real social statement. What are we going to do about all this? So those are some of the things I really enjoy about making pieces like that. I like paintings, and I like artwork that's surprising, that has a surprising element. Not just in the subject, but it could be in the materials, it could be in the way it's painted or the color. And to me, that's what really makes a great piece of art.
John Taylor Lehman, found object artist. Harking back to the strong traditions of American folk art, John Taylor Lehman uses utilitarian objects and repurposed materials to invent beauty.
The underlying theme is that, of course, they're all made out of beer caps, but there's quite a variety. There are some three-dimensional pieces. The dog here, Finn, is in the show, but I have several two-dimensional pieces, some still lifes, some sort of abstract. So there's a variety. I wouldn't say there's a great unifying theme. As I said, I was kind of an artist who was tinkering around with various things in 20 years. Tried painting and drawing, silk screening, sandblasting, and I was doing a little bit with the beer caps, but there was something about the colors of all these new craft beers that were coming out, and they really drew me in. And I started with snakes, and it kind of grew from there. But I think the other thing that draws me to using the beer caps is that I'm recycling. I mean, I was trained as a science teacher, and the whole conservation ethic is really important to me in a lot of aspects of my life. And to be able to reuse, you know, beer caps, that's rewarding in a sense. And also, most of the frames are made out of scrap wood, found pieces of wood. Well, I guess the real technique comes in assembling them. It's just brute force to flatten them right now. I smash them so they go from a cup shape to flat, and then really flatten them. But then I have kind of I suppose a critical eye in organizing them. I do a lot of sketching whenever I'm around, and some of the sketches end up being pieces of my work.
Alan Cottrell, bronze sculptor. Following a successful business career as an entrepreneur, Alan Cottrell turned to bronze sculpture as an artistic endeavor. An avid student of history and archaeology, Alan often incorporates symbolic elements from the past into his powerful, virile, complex works.
I touched clay first 25 years ago. I was 38 years old. I have my first piece upstairs, and I have every piece through about number 400 here. One should. The many ones are called maquettes. It's a way for me to work out my ideas. It's a way for me to show the patron what I have in mind and get their agreement before I start a sculpture project. And indeed, about 98% of what I do is commissioned. So I'm working with a patron each time. The human form, and that's almost exclusively what I do. I'm a figurative sculptor. I mostly do life-size or monumental scale. I do some animals, reluctantly, but I do. There's two primary steps. The making of the art, which is done when I finish the piece in clay. That will take typically 4 to 12 weeks. Then the artisan work begins, and that typically takes 2 to 4 months. My inspiration to become an artist. I touched clay, and it was like hitting a crack pipe. Boom, done. I'm gonna do it every day the rest of my life. There wasn't much inspiration. It's also like the first time I kissed a girl. Hello, I'm gonna do that every chance I get. Can't help myself. That's the analogy that I can draw.
Michael Seiler, painter. Michael Seiler's paintings stand as the outward signs of his personal journey to find God's grace as he speaks to the spirit and the time of his world. His life experiences find release through vigorous, rhythmic, slashing movement, culminating in intensely personal abstractions.
My earliest memories are back when I was 2 and 3 years old. They were about several things, but the most important one was at 3 years old, I was painting and drawing prolifically, and I had no doubts that I would be an artist even at that early age. My work deals with a contemporary theme in that I'm using materials that are ordinarily not thought of as being art materials. Asphalt as one. We use asphaltum in printmaking to cover the copper or zinc plates to do our etchings. But this is a little different. This is asphalt such as you'd find in the bottom of a barrel of oil. It's sticky, it's gooey, and asphalt will change when you least expect it. And when I discovered this, I thought, what a wonderful metaphor for life. I mean, life just constantly changes. Sometimes it's because we're stupid and do dumb things, but a lot of things happen to us too, and you have no control. Now, asphalt doesn't dry, so these paintings will continue to change over time. However, the alkyds dry extremely fast. And so when the alkyd touches the black asphalt, you have all these chemical reactions. And vice versa, if you put the asphalt in on the alkyd, you get an entirely different reaction, and you can get colors out of this black-white combination. And I think I'm about the only one in the world really doing it. At least I hope I am.
Brad Schweger, ceramist. Brad Schweger's ceramic works reflect the strong influence of architecture, predominantly cityscapes and industrial areas. Brad finds that pottery, like architecture, deals with elements of form and structure, interior, exterior, utility or containment, surface detail, and adornment.
Well, I work in the ceramics field. I consider myself a potter. That's where my passion lies. I do sculpture as well, but I think even my sculpture is kind of driven by the history of pottery and my experiences in the field in ceramics and pottery. Primarily wheel throwing, and I was sort of trained as a young artist as a potter, all the way back to when my brother taught me, and I was a little kid, probably 10 or 11 years old. And so I've been doing the wheel work primarily for the last 30 plus years. So technically that's probably where I focus, but I'm also interested in the other techniques and processes of the slip casting and hand building. My inspiration comes from a lot of different places. A lot of the people and places I've visited in my life. Early on, my teachers had a huge impact on me, both inspirational and also just generating a work ethic. And so I would say like Japanese ceramics really inspires my work. I think that happened early on. In the early 80s, I went there as an apprentice. So I've worked in Mashiko, Japan, as well as Seto, two primary places for ceramics in the world. And I'd even give credit to my teaching career and following students' research and the work that they do. My influences are so broad, I can't really pinpoint one specific thing. I've been so lucky with so many different experiences.
Thank you for watching this short film featuring the artists of the Winding Road A to Z. And thank you also for your interest in and support of the Riffe Gallery, presenting the work of Ohio's finest artistic talent, both established and emerging. Goodbye, and come back soon.